Is there plans to do 2 blocks of a scrim a day? No. If we were doing 2 blocks, it would literally take the whole day, which is like 8 hours at least. And it would be very exhausting, and then we would have no content to upload for like SoloQ highlights and stuff. Eastern teams do it. Eastern teams, I believe, do 3 best of 3s, no? Or do they do best of 5? The problem with Eastern teams is that it's fake what they're doing. Because they play 10 games, but a lot of games are FF'd at 5 to 10 minutes. And yeah. They don't technically play 10 games a day. Aurora Mask build. I think building Lianji into Bloodletters into Reef Maker, right? This is like the most normal build path. This is fine, in my opinion. In certain team comps where Lianji gets value and when you need to be tanky, it's an okay build. It's more pro specific than SoloQ. I think building triple Haunting Guises into item is bad, in my opinion. I don't see any value into building like so many Haunting Guises, even though the passive stacks. I think you're just spending too much money not completing an item. In today's you build too much, you're missing out on powerful effects. Have you tried Dota 2? Yes, I have tried Dota 2. It's a fun game, but there are a couple of things that League does better. And there's a couple of things Dota 2 does better. But you can actually watch me play Dota 2 on my Nemesis Watch channel. But I do have to give warning that I play Dota 2 and the Dota 2 fanbase or community is very fucking toxic. You can watch it, the VODs are on this channel, but the community was insanely toxic. Like people were backsitting 24/7. I was getting coached by Ranger and people were calling Ranger stupid and stuff, and Ranger is master in the game and the people calling him stupid are probably fucking silver. And I also watched True Sight, where I thought that the whole... So I watched True Sight 2018, right? This is the one that people wanted me to watch, and when I watched it, I genuinely thought that the scene felt a lot more unserious and unprofessional compared to League. Like the players felt mentally a lot weaker. Because I watched the series and the way they were like talking in between games, like they were crumbling under pressure. I don't think this happens in League at all from my experience, not even to the same extent. And I said this while watching the True Sight, and everybody fucking lost their minds. I don't know why. League pro play isn't more serious, just as self-serious. This is how normal humans act under stress. Like League players that not understanding that the team can have positive vibes and like each other, but like that's not even the point of the discussion. Like, okay, I'm not gonna go in here and fucking flame all the comments here because for some reason like all the Dota fanbase went against me for saying this, but just from my experience, I played in top tier teams, and then seeing the Dota documentary, I can tell you that League players are not as weak mentally as they were in at least the 2018 True Sight. Maybe it was just that year, I don't know, I only watched one True Sight, but that's how I perceived it. Dota players say League is a child's game. The thing is, like, Dota players, in my opinion, are just like a lot, in a way they are more close-minded than League players, and I honestly didn't even think I was ever gonna say this, but I don't know, they just, for some reason they're so offended about everything, I don't know. But yeah, okay, TLDR of Dota, to finish the point, is that I enjoyed the game. I thought it did some things a lot better than League, and some champions are fun, and I feel like one thing I appreciate about Dota is that their champions just feel cooler. I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know why, because League has too many, I don't want to say what I'm thinking, but I don't know, Dota has like a lot of like monsters and stuff as champions, and I just like it a lot more. Yeah, the thing I didn't like was the community. The community was way too toxic and backseating, and I'll be down to play more Dota, but first of all, time management is hard, and second of all, yeah, I don't have infinite time, and I don't like the community. I don't know, every time I play it, like there's just too many idiots. Because I know they're all silver. Like, that's the problem. It's the same as League, right? Nobody backsits me in League because I'm Challenger and they literally don't dare to say a thing. But because I'm new at Dota, of course the silvers are gonna open their mouths. I hate it. But I should just ignore them. Dota feels like playing on 200 ping. Well, it's less micro-based. It's more macro-based and stuff, right? It's a different game. It's not the same as League. There's many different things that are different. Are you familiar with simulation tools for games like WoW to show potential damage? What do you think? There is nothing like that for League? Well, in League we used to have damage trackers on items a while ago, and then Riot removed them, or like, not fully removed them, but they removed a lot of them and kept some. And the reason for this is because the community cannot evaluate and would lose their minds a lot when an item would be doing too little damage on the tooltip or too much damage. So for example, I think one of the reasons why steel-plated caps don't show how much damage they negate is because the number would be very high and people would complain about how OP the boots is, and then the community would probably just cry until the boots would have to be forcefully nerfed because of Riot. But yeah, forgiveness, thank you for the Twitch Prime. I do think steel-plated caps are slightly OP though. They could be easily nerfed slightly. They're the best boots in the game. But I guess they're also there because they serve a purpose, right? The purpose they serve is that you kinda don't, that you need an AP damage in your draft. Let's see some news. What is this? Goodbye, Ruddy Sack.
Hi guys, Don Jake here, owner of Ruddy. I wanted to come and speak to you all about something today. I apologize firstly for my disheveled appearance. I've recently been going through some minor to moderate health issues, so that's the cause for that without getting into too many details. But I wanted to just quickly make the announcement and make some explanations as to what will be going on in the NLC for Ruddy next split.
Okay.
So I wanted to first of all just come out and say just very plainly and briefly that Ruddy Sack will not be a thing for next split. It will be going on hiatus for review in 2026, but at least for now, Ruddy Sack is no longer a thing. That has been an agreement reached by me, Dom, and Yamato, all individually as parties. And I kind of wanted to make a video that explains reasoning behind that isn't just super PR front.
Okay. No more Ruddy Sack.
Because the reality is
Just
the relationship
Ruddy?
between the three of us is still very good, and there's no reason for it to be shrouded behind public relations answers. So the long and short of it is that we
Lots of
are
tons to good,
currently in
Kappa.
an ecosystem whereby a lot of the NLC teams, in my mind, are kind of operating on this facade of public awareness traded off for like what would be replaced with like traditional salaries.
A lot of NSC teams. Okay.
Streamer teams has been a real boon for teams that can't necessarily afford some of the names that are coming in now.
Okay.
They do it under the guise of it being a big brand awareness opportunity. And I think that we unfortunately got a little bit lucky. I think the reality is unlucky rather. The reality is a lot of these streamer teams are like very like easily to break. I think Nord has done a very good job of like continually bouncing back. I had some personal issues during this off-season that meant that some of the pieces fell off and I wasn't able to replace them in time. So we arrived at the end of the off-season basically kind of burnt out, and all three of us basically deciding that we would be going in a slightly different direction. That is to say, without being too negative, I think the streamer model right now is something that I will get into in a further video, but I don't think it's something that's necessarily going to last for reasons that I think should be relatively self-evident from the things I'm hinting at here. So basically from that,
the streamer model is not going to last? Kind of confused here. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it?
Ruddy, Sack, at least our partnership with myself and I Will Dominate and Yamato, is on a hiatus. That is the verbiage that we all used. That's not.
I guess it means that. Unless the players play for free, I guess.
Not to say it's guaranteed to come back, but I think upon reaching the mark of 2026, it's something that we'll review, and to be completely candid, will be contingent on factors such as whether Cage will stay in the league. Let's not avoid the elephant in the room. That's going to dictate a lot of where the market goes in regards to NLC and stuff like that. It'll also depend on Dom's availability, Yamato's availability, what we can do to make it work financially and stuff like this. But as of right now, we decided that it wasn't going to work this split at least, so we decided to at least call it there. I wanted to reflect on what's been an amazing partnership between the three of us so far. We had a rocky start to it with the first split, but there are still some amazing moments, hilarious moments to be gone from that, some major lessons. Owning a team, I think, is an invaluable experience for those two to be on that side of it, and for me, working with those two and learning so much from them as well has been truly amazing. And then I look at the spring split as being an amazing kind of return to what Ruddy means, and I think that we achieved a wonderful result in the context of what was achieved. That is to say all of this, Ruddy will be going in a slightly different direction next split. Some people might not be happy with what we've chosen to do, but it is all conducive to things that I've discussed within this video. Sorry, it's been a little bit longer.
Okay, so I'm assuming there won't be.
I want to make this like 10 minutes, but I think I've said everything.
Building a competitive roster.
Ruddy Sack is not going to be a thing next split. It will just be Ruddy in the NLC. It'll be returning to it just being run by me. The relationship between me and Dominic Marco is completely fine. There doesn't need to be any speculation as to that. Like, we're completely fine. I think just multiple parties just felt like there was burnout on multiple ends, and we weren't going to be able to find a solution. So it was better to just leave it as is for now and review for 2026. Anyway, thank you guys for listening so much. I should be returning to social media. Not that you will. Anyway, thank you. Bye.
Interesting. I guess that kind of sucks, maybe a little bit, because usually they were the top 3 team in NSC, right? Together with Nord, but maybe it's just gonna be Nord next split. Not sure about the rest of the teams. Probably not competitive enough, I would assume. But yeah, it is what it is. I kind of get his point, I guess. Like I think he meant like the streamer model is not going to last unless people play for free, pretty much. I just don't think. I guess people just can't afford. I guess there's no money. It's probably what he's trying to say, maybe. Not sure though. Don Jake, the Ruddy Sack co-owner, is said to be the jungler of his own team. He's currently Emerald 1 in SoloQ. What the fuck? He's just gonna sub himself in? With the successful rise of Lost Tones, a popular team led by Cajal, many orgs have jumped on the opportunity to gain visibility in the NSC by fielding mixed rosters of streamers and personalities. In an NSC ecosystem that was declining before Lost Tones' arrival, teams had very little budget to work with. As a result, many offered exposure instead of actual salaries, hoping it would be enough to attract talent. But while this visibility-driven model works for Las Ratons, why is it Las Ratons? It's been economically unsustainable for many. Players who competed in the NSC during winter and spring often failed to generate enough stream revenue to justify staying in the league. Likewise, orgs themselves have struggled to monetize. Ruddy is no exception. Okay. Wouldn't this happen even if Lost Ratons weren't in NSC? I'm so confused. I don't think this has anything to do with Lost Ratons. If it's unsustainable, then it was unsustainable anyway. If anything, we probably made it more sustainable than it would be because of the amount of viewership that we bring, but that's maybe just my perspective. I could be wrong. The future of NSC. As Don Jake mentioned in his announcement, the future of Ruddy in its winter and spring form is uncertain, and it would largely depend on how the league evolves, especially whether Lost Tones stick around. With little to no compensation for players, it's simply not feasible to lock talents into long-term contracts or sell them to LEC. You have to stay because you attract views. They don't want you to leave. Other eras like LFL or Superliga don't rely as much on personality to drive viewership. Their teams pay player salaries and attract enough natural interest to be sustainable for now. But even those leagues are facing their own challenges as most aren't profitable and viewership numbers drop. Basically, League has this big problem in the ERL ecosystem where, like, I think, I could be wrong, but I think viewership is going down everywhere. Salaries have pummeled over the years by a lot. Players are getting paid less and less. It's just less, like, basically before, being in ERL instead of, like, LEC was actually really good. Like it was actually, like, a really good... You were actually getting paid a lot, and especially if you were like in a good org, you could have like a really good life, I guess I should say. But I feel like those days are kind of over now for the most part. Maybe here and there, a couple of exceptions still, but and it's not worth, like, if you're let's say if you want to be an ERL player, it's probably just not worth to do it anymore. You know, we reached the point where people are more so wasting their life paying for like low salaries and this and that. But basically the whole ecosystem is pretty fucked. And I don't know how we're gonna fix this, because Riot has kinda ignored ERLs now for many years. I feel like, you know, as much as you can play EU Masters, this doesn't really get you anywhere. You can win EU Masters and then what? Like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, it's just, like, every year is just worse and worse, right? Like, even, for example, KC, I think, doesn't care that much about their academy team anymore, ever since they went into LEC and stuff like that. And, you know, Riot recently announced that teams are going to be able to take gambling sponsors now, and we're going to reinvest that into the tier 2 scene, which is the ERL scene. Is that really happening, guys? Fucking I'm doubtful. Basically, like, it's not just NSC here that is in trouble, it's also every other ERL, and if ERLs die down, it's kind of, like, basically, I guess the point I'm trying to say is, isn't EU just becoming NA? I think EU is literally just following the same path as NA in just, like, you know, in a slower way, I guess. The NA collapse happened a lot faster. Obviously, EU was in a lot better spot, so it's gonna take longer to become fully NA, but it definitely feels like we are following NA in a way, because NA abandoned their tier 2 scene as well, right? Completely. You guys remember that player walkout? Do you guys remember that? It just popped into my head. The NA player walkout where, like, Doublelift and the squad was like, we're gonna walk out, we're not doing this, the ERL tier 2 is getting abandoned. What was it called? Player association which I said back then that the NA player solution is completely useless. They have no control, they just think they do. And then Double randomly said, well, this walkout is for show. If we really are forced to either walk out or play, I'm gonna play. And then he like put everything under the bed. He just put everyone under the dirt, and then, oh my god, I just remember this. No one even talks about that because that was such a big meme. Yeah, but basically, yeah, we're slowly becoming NA. Alright, let's discuss this. Hot topic right now. Ship Esports released an article about dodging Autofill and lost motivation, the issues with SoloQ and League of Legends. And there were some US streamers in this article who, I guess, gave their opinion about it. Basically, the TLDR is that a lot of streamers or high-elo players are speaking out about SoloQ being dog shit. Mostly EU players because, well, I think NA already gave up, right? A long time ago. Which makes sense. I feel like EU is following the trajectory of NA and we're kind of on the downhill path, so... I think it's nice that people speak out about it. Basically, they praise some things about SoloQ, say some things about SoloQ is bad, like the biggest discussion here being queue time, which is understandable. The Griffin tweet, I already talked about it. He actually spent more time in queue, but this is NA server, which is a little bit worse than EU when it comes to queue times. Like a lot worse, I guess. Spend more time in queue or champ selector dodges than the actual gameplay, which is not the best. I honestly, personally, as a streamer, don't really mind if queue time is at least 5 minutes, because sometimes it's good to like yap about and take a little bit of a break in between game. I feel like jumping from game to game is not ideal for me, but obviously when you're in queue for like 20 minutes or 10 minutes more, then it gets kinda So, okay, across the board, the streamers therefore all agreed on the same issues, however, each of them proposed solutions on their own to improve overall solo queue. Fix queue timers and remove fill and high elo and make climbing more rewarding. Well, this doesn't really go hand to hand, right? Because if you remove fill and high elo, that would increase the queue timers. So how do you fix the queue timers, but also remove the fill and high elo? That doesn't go hand in hand, so it doesn't make any sense. Make climbing more rewarding. So this is something they spoke about, how in the past we had like challenger backpacks or jacket or like just more incentive to be high elo. And nowadays there's nothing besides the status. So my take on this is that right now there's literally no reason for anyone to be rank 1. If you're a high elo streamer, it's probably better to play master because you simply get better queue times and more champion variety. So it's like also easier to farm YouTube games. The only time where rank 1 or top 10 is worth is if you are not known. Like let's say you're just a streamer that has like 5 or 0 viewers or whatever. I'll decline the queue so I can yap about this for a bit. Then it's better to be actually in high elo so more people recognize. You can even put your stream link in your name, which is what a lot of people do. Punish griefers by manually reviewing games, add voice chat to improve communication. So manual review, I believe, I remember this. Riot actually tested out manual review. They tweeted about this about a year ago or something like that. In NA, they did it. And I think the conclusion was that it wasn't worth it or whatever. That like the amount of reviewing wasn't high and this and that. And I think Riot just prefers leaning into the automated systems that do most of the work these days. I think this is not happening as much as, you know, Riot has already kind of tried it. Add voice chat to improve communication. I'm actually against that. I'm going to explain why. Incentivize climbing with better rewards and punish clear win shade and trolls, so kind of similar. Remove dodging entirely. Add voice chat. Redesign champion select. And improve the client experience. So I think all of this, I see the point. I just don't agree with the voice chat. Lower the queue times. And decide if you want to be filled or not. So I think this does not work. I think everybody needs to be treated equally in solo queue because as some players will naturally get advantage over other players. I don't think Riot is in a position where they can ever add an option whether you want to be filled or not. I just like, how are you gonna balance the lobbies? Then you just create an unbalanced matchmaking where one player has filled, the other doesn't, and the lobby is decided. Literally. Especially if the filled player is in jungle. So I think this will never work and I think it makes no sense from Riot's perspective either. Punishing toxicity more, giving more back to the community for climbing high elo, so very similar point. Make drastic changes to both dodging and filling, as well as just champ select itself. Fix the queue time and dodges with about suggestion, and fix the staleness by adding more items into the game that give more options. So I think I like this, like items, definitely good. Duo queue issue. Basically, okay, I don't think Ruddy is into high elo players at all. Okay, this is some opinions here being shared. Duo queue issue, this is like, you know, this is like a hot topic. Should Duo queue be back? Should Duo queue not be back? But Duo queue is basically removed from the game because it makes the game more fair in a way. But yeah, it also makes the game more dystopian, or what is the word I'm looking for? Like, players just don't interact with each other as much as they used to. In the past, people were adding each other more on friendlies, or you had like clubs and stuff on the client. I feel like Riot needs to add in a client some sort of like a social interaction feature, I don't know what. But the client itself is a massive issue, right? And even though Riot has already reworked the client, I don't know if we're gonna ever get a better client than this. And I think this client is also, not the best, as we all know. So anyway, this was the article. A lot of people were giving their opinions in Twitter. I guess I could retweet Azap, because Azap had the most, I feel like he had the most well-responded. He gave the most like reasonings why he thinks this and that, and he just like, yeah, other people are only like, this is the problem, and they don't really understand that by doing something, you also do something else. What is good with SoloQ right now? The good thing about SoloQ currently is the game overall is very balanced, so this is what Azap thinks. I'm inclined to agree. I think the only thing I don't like is... There's two things I don't like about game balance, to me. It's lack of items. I definitely think like the item diversity is fucking horrible, especially in ADC class. They have by far the worst item diversity out of any role. Oh, and I don't like that. I mean, this is like a lot of high-elo players think the same way. I just simply don't like that unskilled champions are oftentimes too good in the meta, and the skilled champions are oftentimes not in the meta. Like, I wish that high-elo specifically just had more skilled champions being played all the time than non-skilled champions. Like, I don't like seeing Garen, I don't like seeing fucking Trundle, I don't like seeing any of the brain dead, melee, or maybe even range stat checkers. Obviously more of them are melee, right? 2, 3, 4. So, okay, what is bad with SoloQ currently? Energy and thoughts about Q time dodging and champ select. What would you do to fix SoloQ? Currently, the bad thing about SoloQ would be excessive surrendering and leading your teams to surrendering. Soft inting, the sheer existence of dodge as a mechanic, especially a net positive climbing mechanic if employed correctly. Long queue times, although this one is connected to the problems we will talk about today, however, still a major point. Inefficient, outdated champion select, and obviously a terrible client. Okay, so let's adjust this one by one and what I think here. So basically, Azap thinks that surrendering should not exist in the game, and I thought about this a lot. And I came to the conclusion that, he uses a lot the argument that, you click the accept button so you agree that you're going to play the game out, I just don't see what is wrong with an option where if players just simply don't want to play anymore, that they can terminate the game. Like, because a lot of times the arguments against surrender not existing is that, you're losing out on LP, that surrendering is not worth, and if you don't surrender and 1 out of 100 games, you're getting insane amounts of LP, this, that, which I don't disagree with, but my main point, which is why I usually surrender, is because it's not fun. And I think fun is just the primary reason why players play the game, especially, and not LP, while usually the conversation is about the LP loss. Like, obviously, logically speaking, if you want to climb, you should never surrender. Like, if your primary goal of playing SoloQ is to win and only care about the LP, you should not surrender. That is completely logical. It makes no sense to surrender. Only if you are in the top 0.01% MMR, which is like Challenger Elo, and you have the skill capacity to realize which games are turbo lost, then maybe surrendering is a viable option. But 99% of people who are going to listen to this or watch this are not in that bracket anyway. So you should not be surrendering if your primary goal is to get LP. But my primary goal is that it's just not fun. And a lot of champions, for example, in League are very early game based, right? If you're playing Kalista and you go 0-10, like as much as you might want to not surrender because you can win, the reality is that the player is most likely not having fun. So the problem is that there are players in the game who are going to play the late game champ, let's say Kayle. They're not going to want to surrender, of course, even if they're 0-10, because their champion will naturally at some point be good. But some champions just don't have that comeback mechanic because, well, some champs are early game, some champs are late game. And this is where I think a lot of the disagreement comes in, why players surrender and why players don't surrender. It usually ties to what champion they play. So yeah, basically my take is I think surrendering should exist. I remember when Riot changed the surrender vote, that you are able now to surrender at 15 with 4 votes. Before it was 15 to 20 was 5 votes, and then 20 onwards 4 votes. When that came out, everyone lost their minds, and then Freak said, well, I was also against it, but then I looked at the data, and then it was like some ridiculous number, 97% or something of the games, or something ridiculously high, that you surrendered at 15 were lost or something. I don't know, I don't remember anymore the exact thing, but that's why Riot basically changed it to that 4 votes at 15. Next up, the sheer existence of dodge mechanic. So Azop and a lot of other people think that dodging should not exist. I've thought about it a lot, and I probably came to the conclusion that it's probably true that it probably should be actually just removed. Dodging, I think, indirectly contributes to a lot of negative problems that the game has. It sucks, right? You get the Nunu with Ghost Clans. Oh, I can't dodge anymore, but that was never technically the solution. You were just band-aiding a problem that doesn't get really solved. And yes, there will be games where you will be outdrafted by removing dodging, and the game will be lost and you'll have no choice. But I think long-term, dodging removed, it will long-term have an impact where players will get reused to it and they will just change the way, I think, they behave. Because right now, when dodging is an option, they do things that otherwise they couldn't do if dodging wasn't an option. Long queue times. So long queue times, it's hard to fix. First of all, the players need to be incentivized more in high MMR to play the game, which right now they're not. It makes no sense to climb. I think it takes way too long to go from Master 1000 LP to 2000 LP Challenge or whatever. Like, climbing in Master takes way too long because Riot has made the game mega grindy. This is like one reason why it's not incentivized to grind the game. It's just grind for no reward whatsoever. Long queue times, autofill cannot be removed in my opinion. It has to be a thing, but what Riot could do is they could make it so the autofill is always equal. So if your ADC is autofill, enemy ADC has to be autofill. Or what they could do is that jungle role specifically can never be autofilled, because I think jungle role is the strongest role in the game, and that naturally also has the most amount of impact if your autofill player is on jungle versus the enemy not being the autofill, enemy jungler not being autofill. So there are things that can be tweaked here, but I think ultimately an autofill system will have to exist. What Riot could do is, for example, the first 5 minutes of queue, there's no autofill. If the queue time goes over 5 minutes, the autofill automatically turns on. Like stuff like that they could do. And then there's like inefficient, outdated champ select. So I think what Azap means by that is all the animations in the champion select are too long. Like realistically, if we were to make champion select smoother and remove a lot of the animations in the champion select could on average probably be a minute or two even shorter. I definitely kind of understand that. Like, there's a lot of games out there that are not league, that where you go into champ select, you're there for like 1 minute and then you start playing the game. The fact that you can be in champ select for 5 minutes in this game and then someone dodges, I mean, it's just very demotivating and unrewarding. Only the last thing I want to mention is I don't agree with the adding of voice chat. So this is not just a Zap's point, but this is like a lot of content creators share the sentiment that voice chat should be added to the game. And I'm very against it, and I'm gonna explain why I'm against it. If voice chat were to add it, like even if you add the voice chat only in high MMR, SoloQ would completely change. It wouldn't really be SoloQ anymore. It would be more like screams in a way. Like it would be closer to screams than it would be to SoloQ. I feel like, first of all, if you have players that are on voice and enemy players don't have on voice, because first of all, voice chat will always be optional. In a very team-based game, if I have 5 players on voice and they have 3 players on voice, I'm in a massive advantage. That's the first thing. Second of all, it would, again, as I said, warp the identity of the current SoloQ. It wouldn't really be SoloQ anymore. It would be screams, especially in high elo. People would opt into tryhard drafting, tryhard planning. I think more people would lean towards scaling. I feel like you would draft these protect the jinx comps or whatever, and people would just turtle, and there would be a lot less opportunities for you to individually express yourself, and a lot of randomness wouldn't happen anymore. The game would basically just completely change, and I never see people talk about this at all. As much as, you can argue that voice chat adds this communication, now I can communicate that the enemy mid lane is roaming. Yes, your teammates are probably not gonna die because you're gonna tell them, but now put yourself into the enemy opponents. You wouldn't be able to roam anymore. Assassin class would even become worse as a result. The game would become way more scream heavy. Jobs would have a lot more importance. People would job scaling. People would try hard, min-max, a lot of different things. If you were to troll job, people would get frustrated at you or troll job. Like if you were to play an off-meta champion. And most importantly for me, I think individual skill expression is so low in League that by adding voice chat, you would even make it even lower. like individual skill expression would be even lower. You guys have to understand that, like the amount of solo kills you're gonna be able to get, the amount of outplays 1v2, 1v3 you're gonna get, which is a big reason why people like playing the game. Certain characters, like, let me give you an example. I think Samira, for example, will become a lot worse by default. Champions like Fizz, Talon, as much as you guys hate them, these champions will ultimately become unplayable low-key if voice were added to the game. Like, and as much as you say good, like you can, that's not good for the game, that like 40, 50 champions by default are gonna be insanely bad, and I don't even think Riot will be able to balance those champions because you simply cannot buff them. The game will become, I think, a lot harder to balance simply because voice chat would be in the game. And yeah, so individual skill expression would completely die out. Again, this is why I just can't stand behind these arguments that voice chat needs to be added. I don't, personally as a player, like as a streamer, it would benefit me because it's more content for my stream. But as a player, it doesn't make any sense because of the reasons that I mentioned. And I feel like I would be constantly, I wouldn't be playing SoloQ anymore. I would be playing Screams all the time, and that would be a massive shift. Way more draining in my opinion.